the Flash movie review. And now I'm going to take a different perspective on it. I happen to think visually it was pretty good. I would say pretty stunning. About a 9 on the Richter scale when it comes to visually stunning. But the thing that I say the most that really kind of made the movie a little bit circus-like was the soundtrack. If you were to slow it down, use a little bit downplayed music, a little more somber, this would have been one of the big killers too that I found for me was the soundtrack, and I did get a little bit whiny with that. Now, same goes to some of the dialogue, and once it got a little bit tuned down, you actually started getting into it, because Barry Allen, young and old, it was just kind of annoying to see the young one. He was playing a very immature character, which really became not very appealing. It wasn't actually anything like that. They did have one trend. The introduction to Michael Keaton's Batman, that was a great, I would say, one of the drops that got me was actually seeing, wow, this is the trilogy that we never got to see the end, the beginning of maybe a Batman Beyond and whatnot. And it really got into some of the nostalgia of that. That was actually quite exciting. Now, for using the Ben Affleck version, which is by far my favorite Batman of all time, they used him so very little, and that was one thing. The one growing trend I've seen such far is that when young Barry discovered his powers, he discovered it very quickly. He didn't have that hero's journey. Kind of sort of they did with Sasha Calle's Supergirl. Now, the Supergirl one is quite interesting. I wish they add more backstories. Why was she given that rage, and how does she know how to use it? That is one thing I found it quite interesting and a good question, and we never got to actually get solved. It would have been totally dope if they were to do some more fine-tuning. As we know, this movie went through so many reshoots, re-edits, rewrites, whatnots. Man, if they just kept the original ending that it was rumored to be, this movie seriously could have broke $1 billion. But it doesn't help when you say, this new director, this is it, all these characters, they don't mean shit when it comes over when it's all done. I mean, that's going to kill your story. Hell, they could have lied to us and said, man, it's the greatest thing ever, and to find out this resets. The Snyderverse would have ultimately concluded in an epic ending. Only the studio execs just let the Snyderverse story be told out, it would have been a 10-part, 8-part, however many. It was supposed to be a 10-year journey with this, and it was supposed to conclude with the Flashpoint resetting everything. Alright guys, Ben Affleck, we love you. You did all your great stuff. Now we can do this whole inevitable reboot, reshoot, whatnot of this whole entire people and recasting. But instead, this is what happens when you let the studio politics come in. And this movie, I believe, had great, but only the studio execs just let the Snyderverse story be told out, it would have been a 10-part, 8-part, however many. It was supposed to be a 10-year journey with this, and it was supposed to conclude with the Flashpoint resetting everything. Alright guys, Ben Affleck, we love you. You did all your great stuff. Now we can do this whole inevitable reboot, reshoot, whatnot of this whole entire people and recasting. But instead, this is what happens when you let the studio politics come in. And this movie, I believe, had great, but had this been a very, we want to call closely loose adaptation to the Flashpoint paradox that the anime version has done, this movie would have banked 100%. Now, what killed this movie a lot, I think, is the bad press that DC wants to go another direction. And if anything right there, that's going to turn off a lot of fans. But I give this movie about a 6.5, maybe 7. It had a lot of room to grow. The visual effects were actually quite stunning, nonetheless. I know it's under the unpopular opinion, but it's kind of like goes with the Justice League one, where that came out on the theater. I actually kind of liked the dialogue, it was really neat. But however, when the Snyderverse cut came out, my god, that was exactly what we needed, a 4-hour plus. There was not enough time, there needed to be more, at least a 4+ more hours to this. And that's why in the bottom line with these conclusion of these movies, let the directors do their vision. The bottom line to the conclude it all is we need Francis Ford Coppola version style superhero movies with the DC. You can do that with the DC. Marvel not so much. The Infinity Wars was the epitome of greatness, but DC is just the beginning of that. I believe every movie of DC has the quality of Infinity Wars. Now, That's why when it comes to this movie, let the original vision be and go with it. Strike it the iron and just keep going. That's why this movie deserves a chance. Go see it when you can.